This is the story of the infamous Christmas heist at the First National Bank, a daring crime that shocked the nation and proved that even a small town wasn't immune to the rampart lawlessness of the Roaring Twenties. The year was 1927, an era defined by dazzling prosperity, jazz-filled nights, and a rebellious spirit that defied convention. Across the U.S., cities roared with the hum of the industry, the clink of champagne glasses, and the roar of the Model T engines. But beneath the glittering surface lay an undercurrent of lawlessness, fueled by the prohibition and economic disparity. The 18th Amendment, the prohibition, as you may recall, aimed to curb alcohol consumption, but instead it fueled the black market. Bootleggers, speakeasies, and organized crime syndicates thrived, turning prohibition into a billion-dollar enterprise. Figures like Al Capone and Lucky Luciano and Bonnie and Clyde built empires, while public disillusionment with law enforcement grew stronger and stronger. During this time, banks were frequent targets for daring criminals, with 3 or 4 Texas banks being hit every day. The Texas Bankers Association even offered a $5,000 bounty to anyone who killed a robber during a heist. It was a time when outlaws and vigilantes clashed in a chaotic ballet of greed and justice. In this volatile landscape, the small town of Cisco, nestled in the north-central part of the state, seemed an unlikely stage for one of the most infamous crimes in Texas history. But on a chilly December day, as townsfolk prepared for Christmas, the streets of Cisco became the backdrop for a tale of desperation, betrayal, and bloodshed. Before we dive in, a word of warning. This story has been told and retold, twisted by time, and embellished by eager imaginations. There are countless versions of what happened that fateful day in Cisco, Texas. But what you're about to hear is the truest account drawn from history's unflinching pages. On December 23, 1927, the air in Cisco buzzed with holiday cheer. Children gazed at the shop windows filled with toys, families rushed to finish their Christmas shopping, and the glow of festivity filled the streets. But as the town celebrated, a dark plot was taking shape. A car rolled into town carrying Marshal Ratliff, an ex-con with a knack for trouble, and his crew, Henry Helms, a sharpshooter, Robert Hill, a smooth-talking accomplice, and Louis Davis, a desperate family man, roped in at the last minute. Their plan was simple: rob the First National Bank, escape with the loot, and vanish. Ratliff had chosen a bold disguise for the job: a Santa suit, borrowed from the landlady of their Wichita Falls boarding house. It was a decision as audacious as it was chilling. With their stolen car and loaded guns, the gang believed they found an easy way to cash in on the season's chaos. But Cisco wasn't just any small town. Its citizens were armed, determined, and ready to defend their community. What unfolded that day was anything but the smooth getaway the gang had envisioned. Just before noon, Ratliff, dressed as Santa, strolled down the bustling streets. Children followed him, giggling and tugging at his red suit, unaware of the danger beneath. Santa waved them off and entered the bank, his accomplices close behind. The heist began swiftly. Guns were drawn, demands were shouted, and Ratliff filled his sack not with toys, but with $12,000 in cash and $150,000 in securities. As the robbery unfolded, the town was alerted by a quick-thinking customer who escaped and screamed for help. Within minutes, The sound of the holiday cheer was replaced by the thunder of gunfire as armed citizens surrounded the bank. Bullets flew in every direction, shattering windows and tearing through the bank's walls. The gang took hostages, including two young girls, Laverne Comer and Emma Mae Robinson, using them as human shields as they made their escape. Outside, the streets were a battlefield. Chief of Police Bedford and Deputy George Carmichael were mortally wounded in the crossfire. The gang's getaway car, riddled with bullet holes, barely made it out of town before running out of gas. In their desperation, the robbers tried to switch vehicles, commandeering a car from 14-year-old Woody Harris. But Harris had the last laugh, handing over the car but keeping the keys. Forced to abandon their loot and wounded comrade Louis Davis, the gang fled into the freezing wilderness. Their escape turned into a statewide manhunt involving sheriffs, vigilantes, and even airplanes. After days of evading capture, the remaining members were quartered near the Brazos River, where a fiery shootout left them subdued. The aftermath was as dramatic as the robbery itself. Helms and Hill faced trials, with Helms being sentenced to death and Hill receiving 99 years. Ratliff's fate, however, took a darker turn. He faked insanity, he delayed his execution, but after killing a jailer in a failed attempt to escape, the citizens of Eastland County took justice into their own hands. On November 19, 1929, a mob stormed the jail, dragged Ratliff to a power pole, and lynched him. A grim ending to the man who dared to wear Santa's suit for a crime. But even today, Cisco remembers, and the bank, it still stands, adorned with historical markers and stories of time when Santa brought chaos instead of gifts, proving that even in an era of prosperity, danger always lurks in the shadows. And as always, thank you for tuning in to Southern Confidential, and for more tales of crimes like these, true crime commentary, and police interrogations, be sure to like the video, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you next time.